Welcome to what I want to talk about today, which is the 3 categories of herbs, different types of herbs that you need for your hormones during and after menopause. So most women who use herbal remedies for menopause get mediocre or very temporary results. That's true. But the next 20 minutes are about how to use herbal remedies during and after menopause and get the really good results. What makes such a big difference in the way that you use the herbs. So are you guys interested in that? I hope so. I love sharing this information. So why do so many women get really mediocre results with herbs for menopause? It's because they're not using the herbs as part of a system that addresses all the things your hormones need to find balance. And the magic of Chinese medicine for managing menopause so effectively happens because it puts all these puzzle pieces together. And the most important pieces of the puzzle for your hormones at this time include diet, lifestyle, and herbal remedies. And I want to show you how they fit together and then dive into the herbal part of it. And by diet, I don't mean some strict calorie counting diet. That's never my style. But you do want to make sure that you are including in your diet each day the things that your hormones need. So the most important building blocks for your hormones, one of them is fats. Hormones are actually made of fat. So you've just got to get those building blocks in there by eating healthy fats. And then another important dietary building block is detox nutrients. You need to be sure that your detoxification functions are moving well, and eating enough vegetables. Fiber and cruciferous vegetables is really going to help that with the liver and the intestinal detoxification. And then another one in menopause is plant foods, right? The key here is that overall plant foods are a big enough percentage of what you eat in a whole day. And the reason is because these plant foods are cooling, right? If you're feeling hot, these foods are cooling. They're also moistening, alkalinizing, and anti-inflammatory. So if you eat enough of them, your body becomes this sort of cool alkaline environment. And if you don't have enough of them, your body's a little bit more like a desert. And taking a remedy for, hot flashes in a desert, it's a lot harder for the remedy to work than taking a remedy for hot flashes in a moist environment, a cool, moist environment. So the right diet, it just including those, this isn't a fancy, but just including those basic hormonal building blocks in your diet, it really just sets the stage for hormonal success, right? It's not the whole answer, but it sets the stage. It's like tilling and enriching the soil before you plant your garden. And then we get to lifestyle. And the way I see lifestyle for your hormones is the right lifestyle gets rid of the things that could sabotage your hormonal success. So if you're already doing these, great. But if you're not, these are some of the places where women are like, I'm doing everything right, nothing's working. Sometimes one of these lifestyle factors is sabotaging. So things that can sabotage your hormones in Chinese medicine, we call energy leaks. And a big one is elevated stress, right? Elevated stress is a big old energy leak. So practicing stress management stops that leak. And this is really specific for hormones. Stress hormone levels and progesterone have like an inverse relationship. So it's really hard to keep your progesterone high enough if your stress is too elevated. And the reason this is like an all of a sudden thing for a lot of women during menopause is that we actually become more sensitive to stress during menopause. So if your whole life you kind of been going along with moderate stress and you don't change anything, your moderate stress can become high stress during menopause. Because of the hormonal changes, it's like that progesterone is sort of like a fuzzy golden protective covering on our nerve endings that cushions us from annoying things. And now that cushion is a lot thinner. So it takes less stimuli from the outside world to spark a stress reaction in us. So we need to be a little bit more proactive about keeping those stress levels under control, like all of a sudden when we hit menopause. So, and another thing that can sabotage your hormones is hormone disrupting chemicals, xenoestrogens. Sometimes we are putting these on or in our body every day over and over, and we don't even realize it. And this can be a big, what we call a leak. The most common ones are going to be found in pesticides. So it's a great time to start eating organic, at least as much of the time as you can. Pesticides are estrogen disruptors pretty specifically. And then plastic food packaging. So, plastic water bottles, microwaving your dinner in a plastic container, those kinds of things become more important than ever. And then personal care products with, artificial fragrances and preservatives and sunscreens, chemicals that are known hormone disruptors. So the right diet and lifestyle basics set the stage for hormonal success. And this is where the herbs come on, right? They're kind of like the stars of the show, but you want them to have a nice stage to work on. And but today I want to dive a little bit more deeply into the herbal part. So what happens with a lot of women is they're like, well, I'm just going to take, some black cohosh or Pereria mirifica. They just use 1 or 2 herbs. And they think, well, that's just all I need. And so I want to show you how to change that and how to look at these 3 categories of herbal remedies for your hormones. And you will be using herbs from all 3 categories. We're going to talk about how they fit together. So category 1 is herbal remedies that help your body increase hormone levels. So this is the most common type. This is the most similar to hormone replacement therapy. And yes, it's very important to keep your hormone levels high enough. But the thing is that a lot of women stop here, and this isn't the whole story. Like for a lot of women, this is the only kind of herbal remedy that they use, and it's not enough on its own. So category 1 herbs in Chinese medicine are called yin tonics, and they increase your yin, which is your watery essence, which is pretty much equivalent to your female hormones. Now, having enough watery essence keeps your eyes moist, your mouth moist, your vaginal tissues moist and elastic and resilient. It's like the opposite of dryness. And a lot of women from menopause on run into dryness in one area or another. Having enough watery essence also controls fire in your body. So in your body in Chinese medicine, you have water energy and fire energy, and you want to have equal amounts of, so they balance each other out. So if you don't have enough water, your fire rages out of control and you get hot flashes. Having enough water keeps the fire under control so that you can control hot flashes and night sweats and not feel too hot. Another thing that I just wanted to throw in here is that the watery essence also does something that we call moisten the tendons. And if you look at the statistics, you'll see that women in their 50s are by far the most common group of people to get frozen shoulder. In Chinese medicine, this is just like another manifestation of dryness. We call it dryness in the tendons. So if you have plenty of watery essence, that's much less likely to happen to you. Ample watery essence also helps ground and anchor your energy, right? Like fire energy flares upward, it moves upward and outward. Watery energy is more like it flows downward and it encompasses stillness, right? So it prevents your energy from flying up too often and too easily, and it prevents the symptoms that in Chinese medicine are caused by energy rising up out of control. And this includes other things that are common during menopause, like dizziness, vertigo, high blood pressure, anxiety, heart palpitations. So having ample watery essence, again, makes it much less likely that any of these things are going to show up or get out of control for you. Ample watery essence is also like your battery pack, your energy reserves, your life potential. So I believe Antonika talked a bit about how your Jing in your kidneys controls the aging process. Well, this is exactly where that comes in. The more watery essence you have in your tank, the less signs of aging you will show. Over the course of your life, it does run down, and when it runs out, then that is when you die, right? So if you have more, you look a lot younger, you feel younger, and the longer that you keep that watery essence refilled, then the less signs of aging you are going to have. Your skin, your hair, you're going to look and feel younger. Okay, so that's category 1. It's a good one, so we spent a little time on it. Category 2 are herbs for the liver, stress, and detoxification. And these help your body do things with hormones. So category 1 makes sure you have the hormones, you've got the raw material, but this helps you activate the hormones, detoxify the hormones if needed, and plug in and make use of the hormones and the whole watery essence. So category 2 herbs keep things from getting stuck. Category 1 herbs and watery essence is actually a little bit heavy and sticky. It's reserves, right? It's energy reserves by itself. It just kind of sits there waiting to be used like an unlit candle. So these are going to help your body, if needed, to kind of get that watery essence moving, to help it get activated, to get it where it needs to be. And these also help your body get rid of the wrong kind of estrogen, because remember I talked about hormone disruptors, how there's xenoestrogens. There's these different kinds of estrogen, and having the right ratio, the right balance between the different types of estrogen, and being able for your body to recognize if you get the wrong kinds of estrogen going on, your body needs to recognize that and say, get rid of those. And then it needs to detoxify them out of your body. That keeps you safe from a lot of estrogen related problems and hormone imbalance. And so these are really going to help make sure, because we're all exposed to xenoestrogens, no matter how careful we are. And these category 2 herbs help your body filter them out, help your body avoid what I call estrogen confusion. They also help your category 2 herbs also help your body make the use of the hormones that you're still making. Because it's true, when we get older, we make less hormones, right? But you at least want to make sure that you can make use of all the ones that you do still have. That your hormone receptors are working really efficiently. That's part of it. And another part is the category 2 herbs help you manage those stress levels that we talked about before, so that you can really hold on to the progesterone that you're still making. So those category 2 herbs are sometimes overlooked or forgotten, and they're important. Category 3 herbs are one of my favorites, and they're adaptogens, and they support the body's regulating mechanisms, so that the right messages go out at the right times. And here's what I mean by that. Your body was designed, you have a built-in system, right? Your body was designed to monitor your hormone levels very closely. And if your body sees that hormone A is too low, it should send out a message saying, make more of hormone A. And if your body sees that hormone B is too high, it should send out a message saying, detoxify and get rid of a little bit of hormone B. And this really is a really sophisticated micromanagement of your hormone levels. You could never match this with lab tests and hormone replacement therapy. There is no substitute for this kind of real-time fine tuning. I mean, even if you are taking hormone replacement therapy, think how much the category 2 and the category 3 herbs are going to help your body make use of those new hormones more effectively. But sometimes with category 3, the body gets tired, or it gets inflamed, or the brain, like fluctuating estrogen levels have a big effect on the brain. The brain can get a little bit confused, or the hormone receptors can get a little bit blocked up. And so what happens then is that those messages don't go out correctly. Well, category 3 herbs help the body continue to send out the right messages at the right times, even if it's trying to be interfered with. It really reinforces that function, and it is just incredible how effective this can be. So those are the 3 categories of herbs. And if you understand how they work together and you use them together, it will absolutely take your herbal results to the next level. So category 3 herbs help the body send out the right messages at the right time. And then if it sends out a message saying, make more of a hormone, the category 1 herbs help your body make sure it's able to answer the call, right? And if the category 3 herbs say, detoxify a little bit of another hormone, then the category 2 herbs are going to help your body, again, follow up on that message. So that's a big picture view of how they work together. There is another step that I want to share with you. Once you understand the 3 categories, being able to customize is one of the next big concepts that's going to really increase your results with herbal remedies. And there's two kinds of customization we're going to look at. One is customization between the categories. So you're getting the right percentage of herbs from each category for where your hormones are at a particular point in time. And I'm just going to tell you right now, it will change over time. This isn't a static thing. And then within each category, right? So you're going to customize the herbs that you choose from within each category, again, to match up with your needs. So let's just look at this for a minute. So when you customize between categories, it looks something like this. Some women might need the most help keeping their hormone levels high enough. So they're going to need a higher percentage of herbs from category 1. Like it could be 80% herbs from category 1, right? And and so those women are going to use 80% herbs from category 1, and then the last 20% is going to be broken up between categories 2 and 3. But some women need the most help with stress management or detoxification or liver health, and they might need a higher percentage of herbs from category 2. You know, it could be as much as 80% from one category. Some women might need equal amounts from all 3 categories. So this is how you customize between the categories. And then, like, again, some women might need the most help with system management. They need a higher percentage of herbs from category 3. Like if you've got some kind of autoimmune disorder going on or something like that, then this can be a bigger factor. And so they can use herbs to help regulate both the endocrine and the immune systems for hormone balancing. And then, I just want to talk for a minute about how to customize within each category. So that was how to customize and get the right percentage of herbs from each category. But there is another level to this, which is customizing within the category. So you're going to choose from within the herbs in a category, because there are many herbs in Chinese medicine in each category. You're going to pick and choose the ones that match up with your particular needs. And being sophisticated in these choices means you can address secondary issues and multiple discomforts at once. And so I don't have time to dive into this customization within the categories in great detail today, but I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So for example, in category 1, herbs that help build up your watery essence, that help make sure that your female hormone levels don't drop too low. They're herbs for kidney yin. That's one part of your watery essence. And those we would choose more often if one of your main issues is hot flashes. Then there are herbs for heart yin, another aspect of your watery essence. And they all support each other, but the ones for heart yin are a little bit more specific for insomnia, right? Some women have a lot more hot flashes, some women have a lot more insomnia. Now, you likely will have a little bit of both, but if one of them is really more significant, this is where you can fine-tune your herbal choices. And again, I talked about this briefly before, herbs for liver yin are more for those dry tendons, if you're having more of like the frozen shoulder tendonitis type of issues. So that's how you can customize from within a category. So this is a lot of information. I hope that at least shows you the potential of herbs and why most women get pretty temporary so-so results, and how you can use herbs in a much more advanced way. But how can you use what you just learned for your hormones right now? So I want to give you 3 action steps that you can take away from this presentation today. Are you ready? Okay. First is, this is like a big overarching idea I want you to keep in mind at all times. Try not to let your hormone levels drop too low at any point during or after menopause. And ways that you can do this are including foods that are hormonal building blocks, and using an herbal formula, a customized, either a preventative wellness or a symptom management herbal formula, something to support your hormone levels at whatever stage of life you're at, to just make sure you're always helping your body make sure that those hormone levels never like drop too fast or bottom out. And you know, life is busy. When you start to feel like you're burning the candle at both ends, if you're feeling it all burned out, then you're even more likely to need a little bit of this kind of support. And I know probably a lot of us are feeling that way with the world the way it is, these days. And this is from before you start menopause, during all of the menopausal transition, and it's especially important in all the years after menopause. Now, another thing, second takeaway, is get in the habit of daily stress management, even if it's only for 2 minutes a day. Now, this is especially important during and after menopause when we become more sensitive to stress, but I highly recommend starting before that. Learn how to do it and make it a habit so it's already there for you once you start menopause. Get it in place first. And this can help stop one of the biggest hormone leaks so that it is much less likely your hormones are going to go too low because you're not leaking hormones. It's like you have buckets, like you got buckets that you fill with hormones. And as you get older, your body has trouble making enough hormones to fill the buckets. Well, imagine if there's a giant hole in the bottom of the bucket. When you're making less hormones, it's really hard to make enough to keep the bucket full. Stress management is like patching that hole in the bottom of the bucket. Okay. And the third thing I want you to take away from today is have a system in place to get help when you need it. Targeted herbs, some kind of hormone-specific remedy, so that if your hormones during menopause suddenly go out of whack, you know how to use herbal remedies, if that's what you're going to use, that you can just use them right away, on the fly, and when needed. And the reason that I emphasize this is you really never want to leave your hormones out of balance for too long. And if you're having severe symptoms, that's just a sign that things are more out of balance than they should be. And your body's like, hello, I need a little help getting things back in balance. That's why, when someone's having really severe menopause symptoms and the doctor's like, wait 5 years, from a Chinese medicine perspective, we're like, no, that's a message that something's out of balance. We want to get it in balance now, because when it's out of balance, you're more vulnerable to a lot of other stuff happening. Because if you have that supportive diet and the supportive lifestyle and those supported hormone levels, if you've got all that going on, even if your hormones freak out a little during menopause, some herbs will usually set them on track right away, and can be extremely effective at managing menopause symptoms or preventing them from becoming severe. And one last concept that I just want to throw in that's going to help you implement this is being able to switch from a preventative wellness herbal formula to a symptom management herbal formula, like at a moment's notice. The difference between them is, like, imagine that you're rafting down a river, right? The preventative wellness is when you're in the smooth part of the river and like the weather's great, and it's just like taking care of your raft, right? If it gets low, you fill it, you top it up with air. If it gets a little leak, you patch the leak. It's just like preventative maintenance, right? It's just like making sure things are as good as they can be when there's no problems. So it's just basic support, getting your oil changed on time. But then when you hit the rapids, you don't want to realize, oh, wow, I don't have a paddle, right? So that's kind of the difference. When it comes to your hormones, the times when it's going to feel like you're going through the rapids are probably your first period, after giving birth, like, think postpartum depression and menopause. For sure, menopause is the hormonal rapids, right? Things are changing all over the place. It's easy for them to get a little out of balance. If you can grab the paddle and course correct, right? Like before you hit the rock, it feels a lot better. So think of it this way. Say you're a 39-year-old woman, but you have no perimenopausal symptoms, right? Well, you're 39, your hormones are already starting to drop. So take a simple herbal formula that just helps your body make hormones so that, like, as they're starting to drop, when your body's like, I want to make a little more, it's easy to do, right? So this is just a preventative wellness hormonal support so that the hormones are never going to just like drop too suddenly or too low. But say you're 39 and you're already having soaking night sweats or suddenly severe PMS. It's just a sign that your body is struggling to keep your hormone levels high enough or in balance as they start to change. So you take a little bit stronger, a little bit more customized, a little more discomfort-oriented herbal formula to feel better. And then when your discomforts are really mild or gone, you're like, oh, okay, I've got things back in balance, and you just go back to a preventative formula. So like I said, it's like grabbing the paddle when you need it, and then, you don't need to, you can just kind of float when things are good. And like I said, this is something I mentioned before, but it's worth remembering. Severe symptoms are your body giving you a message, like crying out and saying, hello, could you please give me a little help? Something's out of balance. Let's fix it now. And so I hope that was helpful. I know it's a lot of information. I'm certainly available to answer questions. But if you want to know more about how I can maybe help you do all of this without confusion, like overwhelm, or turning your life upside down, I just want to point you towards a few potential resources. If you're interested for some tips on the best diet for your hormones, I have a lot of free resources on my website. They change sometimes. They're always amazing. Usually I have like a hormone balancing smoothie recipe that comes with a series of emails that gives you all the hormonal building blocks you want to include in your diet, right? So just to really help you get those basics in place. For lifestyle, I have blog articles with short guided meditations you can start doing 2 minutes a day, and some articles on the most important hormone disrupting chemicals and what they are and how to avoid them. And then for herbs, which is where I feel like it's a little bit the most challenging piece to put in place, what I've done is I have created an online herbal program that just matches you up with exactly the herbs that you need at every stage of the menopausal transition and the postmenopausal years. So basically, once you have it, you will never be caught without a pedal or a well-maintained raft again. And you can always learn more about that, get on the wait list for it on my website. You can get all the free resources there. There's tons of, you can contact me with questions. So hopefully that gives you lots of ways that you can get started.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Great. Shall I turn off the screen share?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you a few questions. One of them is going to be, how can someone we want to discover how can we transition somebody taking Western medicine and transition them into taking herbs, and is it even safe? And my second question is, can anyone get these herbs? A lot of times practitioners will customize, and you talked about customizations in different categories, but there are also patent formulas. So the difference between patent formulas and customized formulas, and if they get them, they have to get them from you. They can't necessarily go to the grocery store or go online to get them because they need to work with a GCM practitioner. And then another question is, sometimes we have about 5 herbs in them. Sometimes we have 20 herbs in them. And so maybe describing the difference between those different types of formulas. How come there would be more in another one and versus another one because of the many different layers and patterns that are presented?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So Dana, that was fantastic. There's a lot of really quality information in herbs, and you make it sound so simple.
Good.
And I'm glad. I really hope for women out there who are listening to this will really start to see the value in going natural. And I know there's a lot of people who do want to go natural and they want to not have to be on medication. So that's why they wait till last minute, but that's like the worst time to wait. So I feel like the information that you provide and the support that you give women online really helps people understand their bodies so they can regain their life back in a very quick amount of time. There are a lot of people out there that I've met personally who are already on estrogen medication, who've been taking Western medication, and they've been on it for a long period of time. So is herbal formulas safe for people to take even though they're on Western medication? And, how can somebody get off of their meds when they're working with you?
So I'm not against hormone replacement therapy. There are times when, a woman will come to me and I'll often say, well, let's start with the herbs. Let's see how far we get. And I find that for about 80% of the time, the herbs do everything we need. But there are some women who, just because of their genetics or whatever, their body has an especially hard time keeping their hormone levels high enough. And a little bit of hormone replacement therapy can just help with that once we've got everything else going on. And usually when you take the hormone replacement therapy with the category 2 and 3 herbs and the diet and lifestyle, I find you get more benefit and less side effects. So it's not like I'm against it. I just feel like if you can get your body to do it naturally, like it's better. And if you need that help, if you support it with the herbs, it's even better. So for women who are just taking hormone replacement therapy, I find that it usually just works better and has less side effects if they add in the herbs and use them together. And in a situation like that, I'll usually say, I mean, of course, you check with your doctor, you make sure it's compatible, but if it's just hormone replacement therapy, you can usually add in customized herbs, get them on board, get everything going and see how you feel. And once you've had like maybe 3 months for the herbs to get in your system, that will be the time to talk to your doctor about possibly slowly decreasing the amount of, hormones that you're taking and see if the herbs are able to keep you all your benefits. But of course, I would always want you to talk with your healthcare practitioner about that. And if you even wanted to use both of them together over time, that's fine. Now, when it comes to other types of medications, most types of medications are safe to use with herbs. Like if you're taking a prescription medication, but you have no restrictions in what you can eat or drink, you can have any kind of herbal tea, any amount of any vegetables, citrus, like there's no restrictions like that. Usually herbs are safe to use, but you always want to check with your healthcare practitioner. You want to check with your pharmacist. You want to check with the person who prescribed the medication. The medications that are usually the most problematic are going to be blood thinner medications. If you are on a blood thinner medication like Coumadin, then I don't recommend taking herbs unless you're working very closely one-on-one with a practitioner, because the herbs can change what dose you need of the blood thinner medication, and that can be dangerous. If you are actively doing a course of chemotherapy, then you want to be careful as well. If you are on anti-seizure or antipsychotic medications, then there's also, you want to be extra cautious. But most other types of medications, I mean, you definitely need to check, but most of the time, like I have so many clients and students who are on other types of medications, and, if they can drink chamomile, peppermint, dandelion, can drink all these types of tea, they have no restrictions, then the herbs are kind of like that. And they, you take them an hour apart and there's no problem. So there's a lot of room for using both in your life. And then once you're on the right herbs and your body gets like stronger and stronger and more replenished and everything's moving more freely, you might go to your doctor and they're like, gee, your blood pressure looks really good. Or, they're like, oh, I have no pain. It's like, you might find that over time you start to taper off some of your medications because you don't need them. And that can definitely be a goal, but it's something that you would need to work with your healthcare practitioner on.
That's like the best part. The fact that you're going in for one thing and you're seeing a TCM practitioner
Yes.
for, hot flashes, but then all of a sudden, because your body's so nourished and it has what it needs, eventually all these other patterns start to fall off. And I think that that's like what really makes Chinese medicine or Eastern medicine so successful. Because these herbs, even though you've categorized them, there are herbs that have so many different actions.
Yeah.
And
it's like you see the symptom, but some of the herbs are always for the underlying imbalance. And that underlying imbalance can cause 20 different symptoms. You know what I mean? Like if you get to those underlying imbalances, basically all symptoms start to get better. So
completely different from synthetic medication where you've got like a list of like side effects versus a list of all the things that it's really, really good for, So it's so reassuring that we have a resource of herbals that can support us. Now, can anybody get these herbs? I understand there's what we call patent formulas in our scope of practice, and there's also just formulas that you would make custom. So who can actually get these herbs, and can anybody just get them online?
It is possible to go online and buy herbs, yes. And if you know which ones to choose, that can work well. I just find that, like, I don't tell people just like, oh, if you're in menopause, go take this formula, because I'll have, 5 women come to me for hot flashes and I'll end up recommending different herbs for all 5 of them, depending on if they need, one of them, they're having hot flashes mainly because of stress, and one it's mainly because of low hormone levels, and one it's mainly because of it's like, I just find that when they're customized, they work so much better. And if you know how to keep track and like as your hormones change over time, you know how to adjust your herbs to support your hormones. Like each year as your body changes, the secondary benefits and the healthy aging benefits that you get are so significant. Like I don't want women to go out and just get those sort of like, yeah, it kind of helped results. You know, I feel like herbs have so much more to offer than that, that I say, if you're going to spend the money, if you're going to bother, why not get a little help and really get the kind of benefit that's available. And in my online herbal program, I actually give you the tools to do that for yourself. You know, there's this like symptom translator where you kind of put in your stage of menopause and you're put in how you're feeling, and it's completely customizable with your budget and your secondary issues and all of that. And so you can kind of create those updated herbal combinations as you go along, and you can just kind of buy the ones you need when you need them. So it's kind of a halfway in between.
That's really reassuring that your program explains all of the different categories and all the different herbs. That way a patient who is experiencing these symptoms can say, oh, you know, I've learned this and my body is doing this. I like to get off of this medication and this is what I want to use. And so that actually creates a conversation with the doctor saying that I've done my research and I've also have aligned myself with a holistic practitioner who's explained this to me, and that helps people get off of their medication.
And I will say that, you know, the program is not it's designed to help you get the herbs that you need, that are customized, very, very customized for you, and that update with you over time. It's not going to take the time to explain all the theory behind every herbal choice, because that's why I got a master's degree and it took 3.5 years. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to have to understand everything about Chinese medicine to be able to use the program. It's much, much easier and quicker than that. So like I said, there are some women in the program who, in the discussion groups and stuff, they want to know more about like why this was for this and why that was for that. And we talk about that in the group, in the chat. But you can get in the program and you can just kind of put in how you're feeling and get your herbs and keep it simple and not have to understand the categories and the this and the that. It kind of does it for you. So I wanted to be a tool that really anyone could use pretty quickly and easily.
So what does it look like to do a telemedicine or telewellness call with you?
So I actually have two ways that I work with people. One is in my local practice, which is very small, and it's just people who come to see me for acupuncture treatments mostly. And then the way that I do all my long distance work is via the online program. So you become a student in the online program, you get access to all the training in there, you use the system, you understand all the parts and the customization, and then you work with me directly to get questions answered. If there's any points where you want to understand the choices that you're making, to fine tune things, to help with the customization, there's a lot of opportunity to do Q&A and chat back and forth with me. But that is how I work with people long distance. I don't do one-on-one telehealth appointments at this time, long distance.
Okay. There's so many other questions that I have to ask you. We can go on with this conversation for infinity almost.
Yeah, I can talk about herbs all day long.
And I love how Chinese medicine has 5 different branches. I mean, you mentioned lifestyle, you mentioned food, and all these are very important, but then you also bring in the expertise of the herbs and the acupressure points that people can use while they're at home. Are there any other closing remarks that you would like to share with our audience that they can glean back on, or something that you really wanted to deliver today that you weren't able to?
You know, one question that I get asked sometimes is like, well, should I start with the right diet first, or should I start with the right herbs first, or should I start with the Qigong first? You know, because like all the Chinese medicine stuff, you really are going to get the best results when you use it together. And that's what I love about this summit, is you're going to get a glimpse into the big picture. That's something that people in Asia just like grow up with, that we just don't see as fitting together. But one thing I want to say about herbs that some people don't know is that herbs have the ability to change patterns. Like if you are on a downward health spiral, herbs alone can come in and be the thing that shifts the direction of that spiral. Because I get a lot of women who come to me who honestly aren't feeling well enough to start exercising or meditating or eating right or anything else. And I say, just start the herbs. Let the herbs get you feeling better enough. Okay, all of a sudden, if you're sleeping, you might have the energy to exercise. Or if all of a sudden your knee stops hurting, then maybe you can start to exercise. Like, the herbs can start to make the changes that allow you to feel well enough to then later, you feel calm enough, your stress is controlled enough, you're sleeping better, your energy's better. Maybe now it's easier not to eat as many cupcakes. So the herbs can be a great starting place. Yes, they work better, will give you the maximum results with the right, diet and lifestyle and all that, but you can absolutely use them alone to get that first bit of relief. So you can just kind of take a sigh of relief and have the wherewithal to start doing some of that other healthy stuff. So they actually work pretty well that way. And this was really emphasized to me in my tonic herbal training, because one thing that's a little different about me is, when I went to acupuncture college, I learned TCM herbalism, which is mostly medicinal herbalism. It's mostly herbs to use when you're having a problem. And then later, after I got out of school, I studied tonic herbalism, which is mostly herbs to use for preventative wellness. It's a Taoist branch of herbalism. It's all sort of like longevity and the art of living, and this whole 3 treasures, radiant health view of herbalism. And so I just wanted to kind of throw that in there, that there's this big vision in tonic herbalism of the herbs having the power to change negative spirals and cycles in your health and your life into upward and positive cycles and spirals. So especially when you're incorporating the tonic herbalism side of things, that herbs can be a great starting place. And that also is what brings not just the menopause symptom relief, but all of the healthy aging benefit into your herbal formulas.